Good afternoon and welcome to the October 25th, 2022 regular meeting of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Thank you, Mr. President. Supervisor Chan. Chan present. Supervisor Dorsey. Dorsey present. Supervisor Mandelman. Mandelman not present. Supervisor Marr. Marr present. Supervisor Melgar. Melgar present. Supervisor Peskin.
Present.
Peskin present. Supervisor Preston. Preston present. Supervisor Ronan. Ronan present. Supervisor Safai.
Presente.
Safai present. Supervisor Stephanie. Stephanie present. And President Walton.
Present.
Walton present. Mr. President, you have a quorum.
Thank you. The San Francisco Board of Supervisors acknowledges that we are on the unceded ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone, who are the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula. As the indigenous stewards of this land and in accordance with their traditions, the Ramaytush Ohlone have never ceded, lost, nor forgotten their responsibilities as caretakers of this place, as well as for all peoples who reside in their traditional territory. As guests, we recognize that we benefit from living and working on their traditional homeland. We wish to pay our respects by acknowledging the ancestors, elders, and relatives of the Ramaytush Ohlone community and by affirming their sovereign rights as First Peoples. Colleagues, please stand with me to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And on behalf of the Board of Supervisors, I would like to acknowledge the staff at SF-Gov TV. Today we have Kalina Mendoza, who record each of our meetings and make the transcripts available to the public online. Madam Clerk, do we have any communications?
Thank you, Mr. President. The Board of Supervisors welcomes the general public to advise the board or just to listen to the proceedings either in person or remotely. The meeting is airing live on SFGOV TV's award-winning Channel 26, or you may view the computer live stream at www.sfgovtv.org. To participate remotely, it's best that you call in early from a quiet location. Make sure that your sound is turned down. That way there won't be any feedback. The board will prioritize hearing comments from those who attend in person, thereafter from those who've called into the remote system. The telephone number and the meeting ID is published on the agenda and streaming on your screen. After entering the information, press the pound symbol twice. You'll have joined the meeting once you hear the discussion. However, your line will be muted. Once you are ready to provide your comment, that's when you should press *3 to add yourself to the speaker's queue. The system will prompt that you have been unmuted and just begin speaking your comments. Agenda content eligible for your public comment today is general public comment once item 30 is called. That's when you may speak to the minutes as presented, items 31 through 35, the items for consideration on the adoption without committee reference calendar, and general matters that are not on today's agenda but are within the board's subject matter jurisdiction. All other agenda content will have been reported out to the board by an appropriate committee where the public comment requirement occurred. Communication with the board is still possible if you want to send your written correspondence by U.S. mail to the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, the number 1, Dr. Carlton B. Goodlett Place, City Hall, Room 244, San Francisco, California, 94102, or you can send an email using the email address bos@sfgov.org. In a great partnership with the Office of Civic Engagement and Immigrant Affairs, we will have interpreters present at the general public comment once item 30 is called. We'll have them introduce themselves and provide the access information at that time. And finally, if you do have any questions needing assistance accessing this meeting, please call the clerk's office at 415-554-5184. Members, Mr. President, that concludes my communication.
Thank you so much, Madam Clerk. And before we get started, colleagues, just a friendly reminder, please mute your microphones when you're not speaking. We are now at approval of our minutes, and we are going to be approving the meeting minutes from the September 20th, 2022 regular board meeting. And I don't see anyone on the roster, so we will entertain a motion to approve, made by Supervisor Mandelman, seconded by Supervisor Ronan.
On the minutes as presented, Supervisor Peskin. Peskin, aye. Supervisor Preston. Preston, aye. Supervisor Ronan. Ronan, aye. Supervisor Safai. Safai, aye. Supervisor Stephanie. Stephanie, aye. Supervisor Walton.
Aye.
Walton, aye. Supervisor Chan. Chan, aye. Supervisor Dorsey. Dorsey, aye. Supervisor Mandelman. Mandelman, aye. Supervisor Marr.
Aye.
Marr, aye. And Supervisor Melgar. Melgar, aye. There are 11 ayes.
Thank you. Without objection, the minutes will be approved after public comment as presented. Madam Clerk, let's go to consent agenda items 1 through 6.
Items 1 through 6 are on consent. These items are considered to be routine unless a member objects. An item may be removed and considered separately.
Thank you. I don't see anyone on the roster, so we will take these items same house, same call. And without objection, these ordinances are finally passed unanimously. Madam Clerk, please call item number 7.
Item 7, this is an ordinance to amend the planning code to provide a density limit exception to permit up to 4 dwelling units per lot, up to 6 dwelling units per lot in corner lots in all RH residential house zoning districts, and to affirm the CEQA determination and to make the appropriate findings.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Please call the roll on item number 7.
On item 7, Supervisor Peskin.
Aye.
Peskin, aye. Supervisor Preston. Preston, aye. Supervisor Ronan. Ronan, aye. Supervisor Safai.
Aye.
Safai, aye. Supervisor Stephanie. Stephanie, aye. Supervisor Walton.
No.
Walton, no. Supervisor Chan. Chan, aye. Supervisor Dorsey. Dorsey, aye. Supervisor Mandelman.
Aye.
Mandelman, aye. Supervisor Marr.
Aye.
Marr, aye. And Supervisor Melgar. Melgar, aye. There are 10 ayes and 1 no, with Supervisor Walton in the dissent.
Thank you. This ordinance is finally passed with a 10-1 vote. Madam Clerk, would you please call new business item number 8?
Item 8, this is an ordinance to retroactively authorize the DPH, the Department of Public Health, to accept and expend an approximate $1.5 million grant from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention through the state as a pass-through entity to participate in a coronavirus disease-related program through June 30th, 2023, and further to amend the annual salary ordinance for fiscal years 2021, 22, and 2022 through 23 to provide for the addition of 4 grant-funded full-time positions.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Please call the roll on item number 8.
On item 8, Supervisor Peskin.
Aye.
Peskin, aye. Supervisor Preston. Preston, aye. Supervisor Ronan. Ronan, aye. Supervisor Safai. Safai, aye. Supervisor Stephanie. Stephanie, aye. Supervisor Walton.
Aye.
Walton, aye. Supervisor Chan. Chan, aye. Supervisor Dorsey. Dorsey, aye. Supervisor Mandelman.
Aye.
Mandelman, aye. Supervisor Marr.
Aye.
Marr, aye. And Supervisor Melgar. Melgar, aye. There are 11 ayes.
Thank you. Without objection, this ordinance is passed on first reading unanimously. Madam Clerk, please call item number 9.
Item 9 is a resolution to retroactively authorize the Department of the Environment to accept and expend an approximate $2.4 million grant from the state's Energy Commission's Alternative and Renewable Fuel and Vehicle Technology Program to implement an electric vehicle-ready blueprint to accelerate local vehicle electrification for the term through March 29th, 2024. As a term of the grant agreement, Google, EVgo, and other city agencies will provide in-kind services and equipment for use by the public.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And I do just want to state for the record that I'm definitely excited about opportunities to bring EV charging stations into communities, particularly in areas where we are underserved by charging stations, and making sure that they are equitably distributed. And I do want to thank the Department of the Environment for working to ensure that community is able to provide input in terms of where these charging locations and stations will go in community. A lot of times, members of the community wake up and they have things in community that they didn't necessarily have any input or any say in. So I want to make sure that we note that commitment is important to include voice from community as we find the spaces where these will be located. And so I just wanted to state that for the record, and do appreciate the Department of the Environment, Director Jew, for guaranteeing a community process to identify appropriate locations. Supervisor Peskin.
Thank you, President Walton. Because this was not competitively bid and could have been, I will be voting no.
Thank you so much, Supervisor Peskin. Madam Clerk, please call the roll on item number 9.
On item 9, excuse me, Supervisor Peskin.
No.
Peskin, no. Supervisor Preston. Preston, aye. Supervisor Ronan. Ronan, aye. Supervisor Safai.
Aye.
Safai, aye. Supervisor Stephanie. Stephanie, aye. Supervisor Walton.
Aye.
Walton, aye. Supervisor Chan. Chan, aye. Supervisor Dorsey. Dorsey, aye. Supervisor Mandelman. Mandelman, aye. Supervisor Marr.
Aye.
Marr, aye. And Supervisor Melgar. Melgar, aye. There are 10 ayes and 1 no, with Supervisor Peskin in the dissent.
Thank you. This resolution is adopted by a vote of 10 to 1. Madam Clerk, please call item number 10.
Item 10 is a resolution to approve and authorize the execution, delivery, and performance of a purchase and sale agreement with Cole Trust for the sale by the city of unimproved real property known as a portion of former Custer Avenue, a public trust exchange and title settlement agreement for 1620 through 1650 and 1680 Davidson Avenue between the city and the California State Lands Commission and the Cole Trust, both agreements in furtherance of a settlement agreement between the Port Commission and the Cole Trust, and to adopt the CEQA determination and to make the appropriate findings.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Would you please call the roll for item 10?
On item 10, Supervisor Peskin.
Aye.
Peskin, aye. Supervisor Preston. Preston, aye. Supervisor Ronan. Ronan, aye. Supervisor Safai. Safai, aye. Supervisor Stephanie. Stephanie, aye. Supervisor Walton.
Aye.
Walton, aye. Supervisor Chan. Chan, aye. Supervisor Dorsey. Dorsey, aye. Supervisor Mandelman. Mandelman, aye. Supervisor Marr.
Aye.
Marr, aye. And Supervisor Melgar. Melgar, aye. There are 11 ayes.
Thank you. Without objection, this resolution is adopted unanimously. Madam Clerk, please call items number 11 and 12 together.
Items 11 and 12 called together are 2 resolutions that provide the RPD, the Recreation and Park Department, retroactive authorization. For item 11, this is to approve the 6th Amendment to the contract with the state that requires the RPD to operate and maintain the improvements made to the Lake Merced boat dock with Division of Boating and Waterway funds, and to extend the term through September 4th, 2041. And for item 12, this resolution retroactively authorizes the RPD to accept and expend a $1.9 million in grant funding from the state for the Twin Peaks Promenade and Trails Improvement Project for the term June 30th, 2025, to approve the grant contract which requires the RPD to maintain the project through June 30th, 2050, and for both items 11 and 12, to authorize the RPD General Manager to enter into modifications and amendments to the grant contract necessary to effectuate the purposes of the project or this resolution.
Thank you. Supervisor Melgar.
Thank you, President Walton. I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor for number 12, and also want to thank the department and the mayor for actively working on improving these resources in District 7. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Melgar. I don't see anyone else on the roster, so we will take these 2 items, same house, same call. Without objection, these resolutions are adopted unanimously. Madam Clerk, please call item number 13.
Item 13, this is a resolution to approve the 7th Amendment to the contract between the Municipal Transportation Agency and Texco, LLC, for services related to the towing, storage, and disposal of abandoned and illegally parked vehicles, to increase the contract amount by approximately $33.2 million for a total contract amount not to exceed $141.4 million, $121.4 million for for the balance of the second year and through March 2025.
Thank you. I don't see anyone on the roster, so we will take this item, same house, same call, and without objection, this resolution is adopted unanimously. Madam Clerk, please call item number 14.
Item 14, resolution to authorize the Director of Property to execute a second amendment to a 10-year commercial lease with 2 5-year extension options between the city and Volunteers in Medicine doing business as Clinic by the Bay as a tenant for the city-owned property located at 35 Onondaga Avenue, to authorize the reimbursement of up to a total of approximately $2.1 million for tenant improvements to commence upon the execution of the lease, and to authorize the Director of Property to enter into any amendments or modifications to the Second Amendment necessary to effectuate the purpose of the lease or of the resolution.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I don't see anyone on the roster, so we will take this item, same house, same call, and without objection, this resolution is adopted unanimously. Madam Clerk, please call item number 15.
Item 15, this is a resolution to authorize the Mayor's Office of Housing and Community Development on behalf of the city to participate in the 4th round notice of funding availability and to accept and expend the County Competitive Allocation Award for an amount of up to approximately $26.7 million under the state's No Place Like Home program for multifamily housing, specifically for persons with serious mental illness who are homeless, chronically homeless, or at risk of chronic homelessness.
Thank you. I don't see anyone on the roster, so we will take this item, same house, same call, and without objection, this resolution is adopted unanimously. Madam Clerk, please call item number 16.
Item 16 is a resolution to approve for purposes of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986, as amended, Section 147, subsection F, of the issuance and sale of revenue obligations by the California Enterprise Development Authority, not to exceed $33 million for various capital facilities to be owned and operated by Presidio Knowles Schools, Inc., a California nonprofit public benefit corporation.
Thank you. I do not see anyone on the roster, so we will take this item, same house, same call, and without objection, this resolution is adopted unanimously. Madam Clerk, please call items number 17 through 22 together.
Items 17 through 22 called together comprise 6 ordinances that repeal and enact the following building codes. For item 17, this repeals the 2019 building code in its entirety and enacts a 2022 building code consisting of the 2022 California Building Code and the 2022 California Residential Code as amended by San Francisco. For item 18, this repeals the 2019 existing building code in its entirety and enacts a 2022 existing building code consisting of the 2022 California existing building code as amended by San Francisco. Item 19 repeals the 2019 green building code in its entirety and enacts a 2022 green building code consisting of the 2022 California Green Building Standards Code as amended by San Francisco. For item 20, this repeals the 2019 Mechanical Code in its entirety and enacts a 2022 Mechanical Code consisting of the 2022 California Mechanical Code as amended by San Francisco. Item 21 repeals the 2019 Electrical Code in its entirety and enacts a 2022 Electrical Code consisting of the 2022 California Electrical Code as amended by San Francisco. And for item 22, this item repeals the 2019 Building Code in its entirety and enacts a 2022 Plumbing Code consisting of the 2022 California Plumbing Code as amended by San Francisco, and for all 6 items to adopt environmental findings and findings of local conditions under the California Health and Safety Code and to provide an operative date of January 1st, 2023.
Thank you. I don't see anyone on the roster, so we will take these items, same house, same call. Without objection, these ordinances are passed on first reading unanimously. Madam Clerk, can you please call item number 23?
Item 23, this is a resolution to confirm the nomination of Elena Kim as the County Veteran Service Officer for the city.
Thank you. I don't see anyone on the roster, so we will take this item, same house, same call. Without objection, this resolution is adopted unanimously. Madam Clerk, please call item number 24.
Item 24, motion to appoint Stephen John Torres to the Entertainment Commission, term ending July 1st, 2026.
Thank you. I don't see anyone on the roster. We will take this item, same house, same call. Without objection, this motion is approved unanimously. Madam Clerk, please call item number 25.
Item 25, this motion appoints Etta Mae Johnson to the In-Home Supportive Services Public Authority, term ending March 1st, 2023.
Thank you. I don't see anyone on the roster, so we will take this item, same house, same call, and without objection, this motion is approved unanimously. Madam Clerk, please call item number 26.
Item 26, this is a motion to appoint Sharice Dorsey Smith, residency requirement waived, to the Child Care Planning and Advisory Council, term ending March 19th, 2025.
Thank you. I don't see anyone on the roster, so we will take this item, same house, same call, and without objection, this motion is approved unanimously. Madam Clerk, we are now at committee reports, and item number 27 was not referred to the board, so would you please call item number 28?
Item 28 was sent as a committee report. It was recommended as amended with a new title. The new title for item 28 reads, "This is a motion to appoint Yosef Nathan, Johanna Hernandez, residency requirement waived, Linda Hirschman, and Jabari Jackson, terms ending June 1st, 2024, to the Reentry Council."
Thank you so much, Madam Clerk. I didn't let the city attorney know this, but I would like to recuse myself for the vote on Jabari Jackson because that is a family member. What's the best way to do that? Just sever the name and vote on all the other names?
Correct.
So let's do that, Madam Clerk, first. Well, actually, we can take the appointments of Yusuf Nathan, Joanna Hernandez, and Linda Hirschman, same house, same call, and without objection. Those motions are approved unanimously, and I would love to be recused from the vote
So
on
moved.
Jabari Jackson, made by Supervisor Peskin, seconded by Supervisor Safai. Madam Clerk,
On the motion.
to recuse.
Yes. On the motion to excuse President Walton from item 28, specific to the item for Jabari Jackson, Supervisor Peskin.
Aye.
Peskin, aye. Supervisor Preston. Aye. Preston, aye. Supervisor Ronan. Ronan, aye. Supervisor Safai. Safai, aye. Supervisor Stephanie. Stephanie, aye. Supervisor Chan. Chan, aye. Supervisor Dorsey. Dorsey, aye. Supervisor Mandelman. Mandelman, aye. Supervisor Marr.
Aye.
Marr, aye. And Supervisor Melgar. Melgar, aye. There are 10 ayes.
Motion is approved.
Then on
On the balance for Jabari Jackson to the Reentry Council, roll call, please.
Supervisor Peskin.
Aye.
Peskin, aye. Supervisor Preston. Preston, aye. Supervisor Ronan. Ronan, aye. Supervisor Safai. Safai, aye. Supervisor Stephanie. Stephanie, aye. Supervisor Chan. Chan, aye. Supervisor Dorsey. Dorsey, aye. Supervisor Mandelman. Mandelman, aye. Supervisor Marr.
Aye.
Marr, aye. And Supervisor Melgar. Melgar, aye. There are 10 ayes.
Motion's approved.
Thank you, Supervisor Peskin, and thank you, colleagues. Madam Clerk, we are now at roll call for introductions.
Roll call for introductions. First up to introduce new business is Supervisor Peskin.
Submit.
Submit, thank you. Supervisor Preston.
Submit.
Submit, thank you. Supervisor Ronan.
Thank you, colleagues. I have one item today. I am introducing a hearing request to be sent to the Youth, Young Adults, and Their Families Committee as part of our continuing partnership with the San Francisco Unified School District to improve conditions for students. We asked the Budget and Legislative Analyst's Office to produce an independent analysis of staffing and resource allocations to SFUSD's central office functions. This report will accompany a broader internal assessment being conducted internally at SFUSD. The BLA audit compares SFUSD's central office to equivalent school districts in California and selected other states, including districts that have streamlined their central office operations and successfully addressed equity issues.
The independent analysis will be released by the end of the month and will provide data and context to assist the new superintendent and Board of Education to assess options to reorganize its central office functions to improve efficiency, accountability, and communications among staff. The ultimate goal of the audit is to help identify the structures, positions, and budget allocations that first and foremost directly impact students through classroom instruction and school-based support services. The City and SFUSD share a common goal to increase the effectiveness of such supports to ensure equitable and high-quality public education for San Francisco students. We are eager to hear the results of this report and will ask the BLA and SFUSD to report on the findings, recommendations, and implications for future internal organizational change in the district central office. And I will just note that this is not a hostile look or report. We are doing this with the welcome partnership of the SFUSD superintendent. It's part of many efforts where we're trying to partner as a city and a district and work together and share resources to improve student outcomes. So this is very much in cooperation and welcomed by SFUSD. And the rest I will submit.
Thank you, Supervisor Ronan. Supervisor Safai.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Colleagues, today I'm submitting a hearing request. Earlier this year, this board was asked to do something pretty unprecedented in the form of a supplemental appropriation to bail out the nonprofit Baker Places, a substance abuse treatment nonprofit that provides critical services to our city. At that time, many of us, including Budget Chair Ronan and myself, asked very tough questions during this process when this came forward to us. We ultimately voted for the funds because we believe that two things. First, that this would stop this organization from being shut down without the funding. And then second, and more troubling, that this would ensure the solvency of the organization going forward. Neither of them have proven to be true. And it's becoming increasingly clear that the representation was not accurate. My hearing request today is also focused exclusively on, in many ways, the conflict of interest that resulted from the Director of Jail Health Services holding secondary employment that required her to be on call 24 hours a day for a few days, and also be on call 24 hours a day for the city while drawing over a six-figure salary for an organization that we ultimately were asked to bail out, in an organization that has been completely mismanaged. The organization CEO has said underfunding from the city's contracts was to blame for their financial woes. In my opinion, as more information has come out, it appears that proper financial oversight from the city, and particularly Department of Public Health, might be the real challenge here. We are also going to ask for how frequent and how often this practice is within the Department of Public Health. How many other individuals are holding secondary employment, and have they gone through the proper channels? As it was shown to us, this individual did not get proper approval from the Department of Human Resources, and we'd like to know how many more individuals within this organization, in this department, have also not been given that approval. The taxpayers deserve that. The mental health service delivery system in our city deserves that. And, you know, quite frankly, it wasn't too long ago that the executive director of this department was asked to leave for a very similar thing, conflict of interest as it related to an outside nonprofit. So we'd like to get to the bottom of it. We'd like to know how widespread this practice is, and we'd like to ask the leadership of the Department of Public Health, specifically Dr. Colfax, to account for these activities within his department. And with that, colleagues, the rest I submit.
Thank you, Supervisor Safai. Supervisor Stephanie.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Colleagues, in response to the Comptroller's citywide nonprofit performance audit released on August 30th of this year, I've submitted a drafting request to the City Attorney's Office to implement several changes recommended in the audit, and will also be calling for a hearing on the audit. The legislation will seek to standardize and streamline existing processes and strengthen performance measurement and performance monitoring. The legislation will also require a level of transparency that currently does not exist, so that the Board of Supervisors and the public will have easy access to such audits. This effort builds upon my work to reform the Behavioral Health Commission after discovering financial mismanagement by the Commission's nonprofit fiscal agent, and my legislation reforming how city departments award grants to nonprofits. The Controller's audit of how our city evaluates our nonprofits, also our CBOs, our community-based organizations, has confirmed what I have long thought to be a problem in our city. We need to be doing a much better job of evaluating the programs and the services the city funds and whether they are meeting the needs of the community. This is particularly relevant in light of the ongoing issues at Baker Places, which Supervisor Safai just mentioned, and my previous deep dive into reporting issues at the nonprofit pretrial diversion program. We rely on CBOs for the delivery of critical services in San Francisco, including a wide range of program areas, housing and shelter, human services, mental health and crisis intervention programs, and many more. They operate through contracts and grant agreements, and according to the audit, it is difficult to measure overall impact of the programs and services provided because performance measurement and program monitoring vary among city departments, and most data is not shared. In fiscal year 2017-18, the city spent nearly $680 million to fund the work of 2,494 agreements with 703 different CBOs. That totaled over $1.6 billion in funding over the lives of those agreements. Monitoring our CBOs is an opportunity for our departments and the city as a whole to better understand the day-to-day work CBOs perform and to ensure that the money the city pays to CBOs is spent appropriately. The audit found that no common definitions exist for types of performance measures used in agreements between departments and CBOs. Departments funding similar programs do not use a common set of performance measures to assess program success. Greater transparency with CBOs could help departments ensure performance measure targets are met and aligned with CBO capacity. Department site visit procedures should consider evaluating the quality of services provided. Bottom line, we need to know the impacts of the services the city funds, whether contracted CBOs are underperforming or if they are in trouble, as with Baker Places. Additionally, we cannot overburden our CBOs with duplicative and confusing requirements not pertinent to their mission. It takes away from their ability to provide the necessary services they are contracting with the city to deliver. I look forward to working with the City Attorney's Office, our city departments, and CBOs to develop transparent systems that adequately determine the quality of services provided, the impacts of those services, and whether they are meeting the needs of the city. I'm also introducing today a letter of inquiry on an issue relating to the city's compliance with confidentiality provisions mandated through the Violence Against Women Act. The VAWA confidentiality provision refers to a provision of the Violence Against Women Act that requires all grantees and subgrantees receiving VAWA funding from the Department of Justice or Office on Violence Against Women to protect the confidentiality and privacy of persons to whom those grantees and subgrantees are providing services. The VAWA confidentiality provision is designed to ensure the safety of adult, youth, and child victims of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, and stalking. All grantees and subgrantees providing services to victims and receiving VAWA funding from the Office on Violence Against Women are covered by this provision, and that includes many of our departments and the providers that they partner with. I have heard that in some instances, providers have been asked by city departments to turn over personally identifiable victim information that may put those victims at risk, which is explicitly prohibited by the Violence Against Women Act. This letter will inquire as to what systems departments have in place to make sure that we are in compliance with these critical confidentiality provisions and to ensure that the privacy of victims and survivors of domestic violence is always protected. Protecting the privacy of victims and survivors is absolutely critical to their safety and well-being, and I want to be absolutely sure that we here in San Francisco are doing everything that we can to ensure that we uphold these provisions of the Violence Against Women Act. And finally, colleagues, today I'm happy to reintroduce an ordinance to waive street sale permit fees and promote sidewalk sales during the holiday season for our small businesses, which we all know are critical to our recovery and to our long-term economic prosperity. And the rest I submit. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Stephanie. Supervisor Walton.
Submit.
Submit. Thank you, Mr. President. Supervisor Chan. Submit. Thank you. Supervisor Dorsey.
Submit.
Submit. Thank you. Supervisor Mendelman. Submit. Thank you. Supervisor Marr.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Colleagues, I have one item today. I'm introducing a resolution initiating historic landmarking of the Parkside Branch Library, which is one of the most iconic and beloved buildings in the Parkside District, and also a wonderful example of mid-20th century modern architecture. Parkside Branch Library was one of 8 branch libraries constructed between 1951 and 1966 during a focused building campaign by the City and County of San Francisco. And significantly, the Parkside Branch Library represents the broad trend of social and cultural shifts in post-war American library programming and design, and is a reflection of principles of the modern public library promoted by the American Library Association after World War II. Just as importantly, the Parkside Library is an amazing, thriving, and multifaceted hub of community life in our neighborhood, just as the other branch libraries are throughout our city. And it's provided our diverse families, seniors, and community with multifaceted services for over 70 years. My daughter grew up at the Parkside Branch Library, reading books from The Magic Tree House to Harry Potter, and even volunteering there when she was in middle school. And actually this Friday evening, we're having our annual outdoor movie night at McCoppin Square, right next to the Parkside Library. So again, it's just the center of community life in the Parkside District. So I'm really excited about initiating this historic landmarking as part of the ongoing efforts by myself and my colleagues, Supervisor Malgar and Chan, of lifting up the important cultural heritage and historical landmarks on the west side. So I want to thank Supervisor Chan, Malgar, and Peskin for co-sponsoring, and and look forward to moving this forward. The rest I submit.
Thank you, Supervisor Marr. Supervisor Melgar.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Colleagues, today I am introducing a motion to sit in closed session to discuss the Laguna Honda Hospital settlement that our City Attorney David Chu and his staff have worked out with CMS on November 1st. Because Laguna Honda is such an important institution to our city, and because the settlement will hopefully pave the way to this institution's recovery in its future, it behooves us to hear from our city attorney altogether rather than the item being heard at GAO. I've checked in about this plan with my colleague Supervisor Preston, the chair of GAO, and this is okay. We will then have our already scheduled hearing as a committee of the whole immediately following, and then we can vote on the settlement if we're okay with it, so that payments from the Federal Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services can continue uninterrupted before the current funding is scheduled to end, which is on November 13th. I am also introducing a hearing request on the policies and procedures of the BMR ownership program at the Mayor's Office of Housing. Many of us have been aware for some time that BMR units have been sitting empty without a buyer for long periods of time in the past couple of years. The market has changed and interest rates have risen, but additionally, the agency changed its pricing policies in 2019, along with further restrictions for the use of its down payment assistance to purchase those units. This week, we learned in a story from Joe Eskenazi at Mission Local of families that are stuck in limbo because of the combination of market changes, restrictions, and policies that require that they sell their BMR units at a great loss, turning what should have been an economic opportunity for low-income families into a bureaucratic nightmare. I believe that we can help colleagues as the BMR program was created by legislation from this board, and the policies and procedures are also supposed to be approved by this board. So let's have this conversation so that we can rebuild the trust in the program and ensure that it continues to provide housing opportunities and economic stabilities to low-income households in San Francisco for the future. The rest I submit.
Thank you, Supervisor Melgar. Seeing no names on the roster, Mr. President, that concludes the introduction of new business.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That now brings us to public comment.
At this time, the Board of Supervisors welcomes general public comment. We'll first hear comment from those present in the chamber and then from those who have joined us remotely. The telephone number and meeting ID is published on the agenda and streaming on your screen. After you enter that information, you should press the pound symbol twice. You'll have joined the meeting once you hear the discussion. However, your line will be muted. Press star 3 to get yourself in line to speak. The system will indicate you've raised your hand. Please continue to wait until you hear you have been unmuted, and that is your cue to just begin speaking your comments. During general public comment, you may speak to the minutes as presented for the September 20th, 2022 meeting, and items 31 through 35, items for consideration on the adoption without committee reference calendar. In addition to general matters that are not on today's agenda, but are within the board's subject matter jurisdiction. All other agenda content will have been reported out to the board by an appropriate committee where the public comment requirement has occurred. The board will accept your written correspondence by U.S. mail if you send it to the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, the number 1, Dr. Carlton B. Goodlett Place, City Hall, room 244, San Francisco, California 94102, or send an email to bos@sfgov.org. We are joined by our partners from the Office of Civic Engagement and Immigrant Affairs and Lando Associates. I ask each interpreter to introduce yourself and the instruction and language on how to access this meeting remotely. First, we'll hear from Raymond Borges for Filipino, Agnes Lee for Chinese, and Marty Dickinson for Spanish.
Magandang hapon po. Ako po si Raymond, inyong kasama sa Wikang Pilipino sa hapong ito. Para magbigay ng komento, tumawag po 415-655-0001 at ang meeting ID po natin sa araw na to 2499-895-1340. Matapos ito, pindutin po ang 2 ulit para makasama at madinig ang pagpupulong. Para magpahayag, pindutin po ang star 3 at hintayin po ang hudyat na maring magsalita o marinig ang you have been unmuted. Maraming po magbigay ng komento sa loob ng 2 minuto. Maraming salamat po. Thank you.
大家好，我係三藩市民政及移民辦事處嘅中文口譯員 Annis。現在是一般公眾評論環節。如遠程參與會議公眾人士要表達意見，請撥打415-655-0001之後輸入會議 ID 號碼2499-895-1340，然後再按2次井號鍵。今日收聽會議之後，請再按先號加3號鍵排隊輪候發言。當你聽到提示音 You have been unmuted， 已取消靜音，即表示你隨時可以開始發言。公眾人士嘅發言時間不得超過2分鐘。現場參與會議嘅公眾人士將會優先發言。多謝 ，Thank you。
All right, it is possible that we don't have our Spanish interpreter, but we will check into that. We want to thank you, Raymond and Agnes, for being with us this afternoon. All right, for those of you who've come down to City Hall, please, sir, if you notice, come up to the podium. I'm setting the timer for 2 minutes, and there is a timer on the podium that shows you once the timer begins when you have 30 seconds left to wrap up your statement. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Carrington, and I'm here to speak about the PRC Baker Place listing. I'm a resident of the Assisted Independent Living Program, and there are a number of co-ops, several of them in District 11, some in District 10, some in District 5. And I'm just basically trying to put a face to the group that people have been talking about rehousing. And those of us who are in co-op came from 90-day treatment programs, and from those 90-day treatment programs, some people were 90 days off the streets, 90 days sober. I myself was 90 days from a suicide plan in action being interrupted. There are people with schizophrenia, bipolar disease, coupled with substance use, and we're all put into a co-op with a structured program in terms of house meetings, and this is the part that PRC says that they no longer want to provide, the case management services. But the reason that so many of us function, one of my housemates finished his master's while in co-op. I'm taking the bar to get recertified as an attorney, as is another co-op member. Another person, she got a full-time job after going to City College. So these are folks who came from the literally were on the streets in traumatic situations, suffering from PTSD, et cetera, who have been functioning because of the structure of this program. So rehousing people, and one of my housemates, frankly, she came from Golden Gate for Seniors, and I don't know if you remember what happened with that program, but there are 3 other people in co-op from Golden Gate from seniors. So the trauma of rehousing people and removing the structure of this program is very real, and these are some of the most vulnerable people. And also in terms of the 90-day programs that PRC has put on the chopping block, one is Acceptance Place, which is for gay men. The other is Odyssey House, which is for African Americans, and the other is Ferguson's Place, which is for people with substance, mental health, and living with HIV disease. These are populations that have been disparately affected by homelessness and mental illness, and I think our voices need to be heard. And again, we implore you.
Thank you for your comments. Welcome, sir. Next speaker.
Hi, nice to meet you. My name is Enrico. I'm a client of Baker Places, and after years of instability in my life, homelessness and alcoholism, I have found refuge and healing at Baker Places. For 4 years, I have not been homeless. I have been sober from alcoholism, and I'm trying as much as I can to live and do something with my life. I have also found a home, a family in my roommates. I have seen the wonders this program has done for myself and others. It's the type of program that should be copied, should be emulated all over the country rather than scrapped. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Welcome.
Thank you very much. It's not happy news that brings me here today. My name is Jordan Davis. My pronouns are she, her, they, them. First, I really think you need to get through your agenda quicker so we can get the public comment in a more expedited form. If you want a model of this, many cities are, including Los Angeles City Council. And speaking of that, while I'm glad that the people of LA are holding the bigots and assholes on their council accountable, I don't see that here in SF. As I am not Latina, I'm going to stay in my lanes in terms of the mayor's bigoted comments towards Hondurans. But I know that I am a transgender woman, and I can say that Supervisor Peskin's transphobic comments towards a former City Hall employee extremely hurt and traumatized me and brought back really bad memories, as well as other transgender people in this city. And that's why I think he needs to resign. Although I am not a black trans woman, I am multiple marginalized, and his comments go beyond just one individual former City Hall employee. Plus, Supervisor Peskin has had a long history of misogyny for the past 20 years, and as a cis white male, he has gotten away for too long. Supervisor Peskin, as well as Supervisor Dorsey, must resign. To not call for his resignation puts our fucking lives in danger. I yield my time. Fuck you.
Thank you, Jordan Davis, for your comments. Can we hear from our next speaker, please?
Hi, good morning, Board of Supervisors. I'm Jessica Polo. Some of you guys know me. I'm here about item 32, Asexual Wellness Week, that I hope you guys vote on. I'm asexual.
Ma'am, I'm going to pause your time just for a moment. You mentioned item 22?
32.
32. Thank you kindly.
Yeah.
Please resume.
Yeah. So I moved to this city because I was aware that this was a haven for LGBTQA plus Q people. So I moved here from Miami, Florida, to be open and asexual here. And I hope you guys recognize my sexual identity expression with this Wellness Resolution Week. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Welcome.
My name is Bram Goodwin. I'm the media director for the Brownie Mary Democratic Club. We're a cannabis club promoting the welfare of medical patients and consumers. I just want to say thank you for unanimously passing item number 4 and postponing any kind of cannabis tax.
Sir, I'm pausing your time. Did you say item number 4?
Yes, I think on the agenda.
It is on the agenda, and that's precisely why you're not able to speak about it today. It had its public comment fulfilled in committee.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Public comment time?
All right. Mr. Petrellis, it's your turn.
Okay, before I get started, I need the cooperation of SF Gov TV. What is this again?
This is the projector.
Scanner, thank you.
Okay. Yes.
SF Gov TV, I have 2 items I want to show. So be ready.
We can see it.
Have the scanner. Hi, Michael Petrellis. I am here to address the disrespect the public is getting because of the timing of public comment. I am showing here the calendar for last week's meeting of the Oakland City Council. Please note, item 1 is public comment. Your public comment, if we're lucky, comes before item 30. Now, on my second flyer, I would like to remind you that a Chronicle survey over the summer found that you all enjoy a 12% approval rating. 12% approval rating. Okay, SFGov TV, back to me, please. Thank you. I'm here to tell you, you need to increase your approval ratings. One way to start is by giving the public respect with 15 minutes of public comment at the beginning. Follow the example of Emeryville, Oakland, and Berkeley. Give us general public comment in the beginning and then at the very end, so we know when to show up. The second matter I need to address is the lack of a listening session in the Castro by the supervisor regarding the Castro Theater. The collective generational trauma we are experiencing because there will be a 6-month delay in when there will be a hearing on the legislation to landmark the interior is unacceptable. The supervisor must hold a listening session now to help heal the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Are there any other members of the public in the chamber who'd like to address the board during general public comment? All right, let's go to the remote system. Mr. Kevin Lamb from the clerk's office is assisting us. Do we have any callers in the queue, please? Welcome, caller. I think we have three.
Hello, my name is Leah McGeever. Can you hear me?
Yes, welcome.
Okay. Hi, my name is Leah McGeever, and I'm calling to also echo Jordan's public comment. I am transgender. My wife is a transgender woman who is medically transitioning, and Aaron Teskin's comments were extremely offensive, and although he apologized for them, he hasn't shown any actual trans allyship since then. I mean, I don't even think before then, but definitely not since then. There are many opportunities for him to have shown allyship. One example would be this tweet that he just shared about anti-Semitism, which is also another serious related problem with transphobia. He could have replaced the word anti-Semitism with transphobia is on the rise and more blatant than ever in order to confront the pernicious prejudices of today. We have to understand and confront our collective history in San Francisco. That is such an easy thing for him to literally copy and paste and replace a couple words. So I don't know what his holdup is with showing any sort of allyship with the trans community and standing up for us. So I also call for him to resign because this is bullshit and he has not been held accountable. And I also echo Jordan's sentiment of fuck you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for your comments. Mr. Lamb, do we have another? Mr. Petrellis, you are out of order.
I know. We'll start with Supervisor Peskin because he was not listening.
Can we hear from our next caller, Mr. Lamb?
Hi, my name is Lisa Church. I'm a D3 resident. I would like to know the threshold for deaths on our streets from traffic violence that will trigger this board, the mayor, and the SFMTA to start working aggressively to design safer streets in the city. We know SFPD is never going to enforce dangerous or illegal driving. Even if they did, aggressive enforcement shouldn't be our goal. We need streets designed so drivers can't speed and drive recklessly. Another community member died on our streets yesterday from traffic violence. The only movement I've seen recently is our slow streets being torn out and returned to the danger zones they were before. always at the whim of somebody that wants to get somewhere just a little bit faster. Please, I beg you to prioritize the lives of our community members over the convenience of drivers getting around town a little bit more quickly. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. All right, I believe we have about 5 callers in the queue. If you'd like to make a public comment this afternoon, you should press *3 now to get into the queue. Otherwise, let's hear from our next caller, Mr. Lamb. Welcome, caller.
Thank you so much. I'm addressing this, and there's been a lot of really good public comments today. I just want to add to the line of public comment. I've noticed that with few exceptions, most business offices have reopened after more than 2 years of being closed due to COVID-19 shutdowns. As a retired city and county frontline worker, I find it appalling that the San Francisco Health Services System remains closed to the general public during October's 2022 open enrollment period, which started October the 3rd and ends October the 31st. I'd like to know who is accountable for this clearly misguided decision. Please open the San Francisco Health Services open during open enrollment. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your comments. All right, Mr. Lamb, do we have any other callers in the queue, please? Welcome, caller.
Yes, hello. I would like to address the topic of PRC and Baker Places and the turmoil that it has sent me as a client into as well. I'm calling in support of my colleague who spoke earlier to you. I was similarly situated. I was suicidal. And Baker Street House, the focus is primarily on some psychiatric issues, literally saved my life. And it's such an important component. And I know many others that the programs that Baker Places can provide makes a huge difference in people's lives. Following my stay at Baker Street House, I am now a co-op client. That's the AILP, the Assisted Independent Living Program that Baker runs. And it is much like Enrico stated and my colleague Carrington stated, that this is where we find a safe place to literally work through our trauma. I'm a PTSD, I'm in trauma therapy every week. I lean in hard. I volunteer my time. And much like Carrington, I am slated to attempt to take the bar to get licensed in California. I passed back in 2003, and my life has been a journey. And I'm going to do it again in 2023. The whole fear and instability that is being caused among the clients, with PRC is so unsettling. And I think it's really important to please find a solution that doesn't impact us, because those that are there to support us don't have the resources available.
Thank you for your comments. We appreciate hearing from you. Mr. Lamb, are there any other callers in the queue?
Madam Clerk, there are no more callers in the queue.
Okay, thank you. Mr.
Thank you. Public comment for calling. Conferencing is now closed. I don't see anyone for public comment in the chamber, so public comment in the chamber is now closed, and that concludes public comment, Madam Clerk. We are now going to, for adoption without committee reference, agenda items 31 through 35.
Items 31 through 35 were introduced for adoption without reference to committee. A unanimous vote is required for resolutions on first reading today. Alternatively, any supervisor may require a resolution on first reading to go to committee.
Thank you. Supervisor Dorsey.
Thank you, President Walton. I'd like to sever item 31 This is just procedurally, and then because it is not likely to get a unanimous vote today, I'm going to sever it and then, when appropriate, make a motion to continue.
Thank you so much. Supervisor Mandelman. 33. Thank you. I don't see anyone else on the roster. So, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll on items 32, 34, and 35?
On items 32, 34, and 35, Supervisor Peskin.
Aye.
Peskin, aye. Supervisor Preston. Preston, aye. Supervisor Ronan. Ronan, aye. Supervisor Safai. Safai, aye. Supervisor Stephanie. Stephanie, aye. Supervisor Walton.
Aye.
Walton, aye. Supervisor Chan. Chan, aye. Supervisor Dorsey. Dorsey, aye. Supervisor Mandelman.
Aye.
Mandelman, aye. Supervisor Marr.
Aye.
Marr, aye. And Supervisor Melgar.
Aye.
Melgar, aye. There are 11 ayes.
Thank you. Without objection, this resolution and these motions are adopted unanimously. Madam Clerk, please go to item number 31.
Item 31, this is a resolution to urge the California State Legislature to amend the State Vehicle Code to impose harsher penalties for sideshows and stunt driving.
Supervisor Dorsey.
Thank you, President Walton. I'd like to make a motion to continue.
Motion to continue, seconded by Supervisor Stephanie. On the motion, Madam Clerk.
Yes, Mr. President, we're going to continue this item to November 1st. Okay. On the motion to continue item 31 to November 1st, Supervisor Peskin.
Aye.
Peskin, aye. Supervisor Preston. Preston, aye. Supervisor Ronan. Ronan, aye. Supervisor Safai. Safai, aye. Supervisor Stephanie. Stephanie, aye. Supervisor Walton.
Aye.
Walton, aye. Supervisor Chan. Aye. Chan, aye. Supervisor Dorsey. Dorsey, aye. Supervisor Mandelman.
Aye.
Mandelman, aye. Supervisor Marr.
Aye.
Marr, aye. And Supervisor Melgar.
Aye.
Melgar, aye. There are 11 ayes.
Thank you. Motion to continue item 31 to our November 1st Board of Supervisors meeting passes unanimously. Madam Clerk, please call item number 33.
Item 33, this is a resolution to declare October 27th, 2022 as SF Spikes Day in the city and county of San Francisco in recognition of the San Francisco Spikes work to engage the LGBTQ plus community in soccer and advance LGBTQ plus social causes and events.
Thank you. Supervisor Mandelman.
Thank you, President Walton. I do not imagine this will be highly controversial, but I did want to say some nice things about SF Spikes. The resolution declares this Thursday, October 27th, to be SF Spikes Day in San Francisco. SF Spikes is a queer soccer club that was started 40 years ago to represent San Francisco in the first gay games. They won gold that year, they won gold the next, and their contribution to the city has been invaluable ever since. The Spikes were one of the founding members of the International Gay and Lesbian Football Association in 1992, which fosters the growth of LGBTQ plus football worldwide. The IGLFA and its member clubs like the Spikes host annual World Championship tournaments and work to promote inclusion more generally in the sport. As an all-gender LGBTQ plus and allied sport club, SF Spikes caters to everyone from absolute novices to competitive players. The organization has 5 competing teams with coaches, clinics, and tournaments to help athletes improve their soccer skills and build their athletic confidence and self-esteem. They deliberately keep fees affordable to widen their reach for all San Franciscans. Above all, SF Spikes is about building community by creating a welcoming space to all genders, all identities, and all skill levels. So today I ask for your vote as we recognize the Spikes in honor of the club's 40th anniversary. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Mandelman. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll on item number 33?
On item 33, Supervisor Peskin.
Aye.
Peskin, aye. Supervisor Preston. Preston, aye. Supervisor Ronan. Ronan, aye. Supervisor Safai.
Aye, and please add me as a co-sponsor to that.
Noted. Safai, aye. Supervisor Stephanie. Stephanie, aye. Supervisor Walton.
Aye.
Walton, aye. Supervisor Chan. Chan, aye. Supervisor Dorsey. Dorsey, aye. Supervisor Mandelman. Mandelman, aye. Supervisor Marr.
Aye.
Marr, aye. And Supervisor Melgar. Melgar, aye. There are 11 ayes.
Thank you. Without objection, this resolution is adopted unanimously. Madam Clerk, do we have any imperative agenda items?
There are none to report.
Do we have any in memoriams to read into the record?
I have none to report.
Thank you. That brings us to the end of our agenda. Do we have any further business before us today?
That concludes our business for today.
You gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. This meeting is adjourned.